Gabriel. Gabriel is the first alternate and the main antagonist in the Mandela Catalogue. At first glance, he resembles Archangel Gabriel with his long curly hair, angelic face, wings, and long white robe. But look closer and something feels off.
I will know their greatest fear.
His expression is unnervingly blank, with his eyes devoid of warmth, looking more like a mannequin than a divine figure. First appearing in the Overthrone, Gabriel proclaimed himself as the one true savior of humanity after he presumably prevented the birth of Christ by sabotaging the Annunciation. Though he failed to stop Christ's birth, he continued to show up throughout history to cause havoc, from biblical times to the TikTok era. Unlike the biblical Gabriel, this entity is a master manipulator. He replaces God's words, twisting messages of hope into fear,
Wake up, Joseph.
and orchestrating the rise of alternates. His influence is not just psychological, it is foundational, shaping the entire world into a place of paranoia and dread. Imagine if Light Yagami got his wish to be a god, but instead of writing names in a notebook, he rewrites reality itself. With both using faith as a weapon, some believe that Gabriel is the Antichrist. Whatever he truly is, one thing is certain: his words are not salvation, they are destruction. Caesar's alternate. Caesar's alternate is one of the most unsettling cases of an imposter. At a glance, he is identical to Cesar Torres, but look closer and you'll see the difference.
Hey, it's Caesar.
His skin is too smooth, half of his face is dark, and his expressions are slightly unnatural, like an obvious AI deepfake. This alternate first appeared in the Mandela Catalogue Volume 1. He broke into the Torres household and presumably took Caesar and his mother down. Afterwards, he takes on Caesar's form to call his friend Mark Heathcliff for help, who unknowingly got lured into a nightmare he wouldn't escape. The alternate followed Mark home, tormenting him with relentless psychological and auditory manipulation.
I have a gift for you.
Driven to insanity by its haunting presence, Mark meets his inevitable end. Some suggest that Caesar's alternate is the same alternate that attacked both Ruth and Thatcher. So, if your friend ever calls for help, FaceTime them first, because if you don't, you might end up answering a call that was never theirs to make. The Preacher. The Preacher, also known as a messenger, is a towering, emaciated figure with a gaunt face, hollow eyes, and an unsettling presence. The Preacher's silhouette can be recognized by its long, distorted limbs and tattered appearance. Introduced in the Mandela Catalogue Volume 2, it uses his unsettling voice to manipulate those who are around, spreading terror by distorting reality and inflicting psychological harm. Its manipulation has no limits, convincing others to carry out horrifying actions. The Preacher is believed to have existed for centuries, showing up in different cultures under various names, feeding off fear and causing destruction wherever it appears. Some theorize that the Preacher is Mary Magdalene. Its true origin remains a mystery. Regardless, one thing is for sure: the Preacher is nothing like Pastor Jeff, but a lot like Valak. The Murray Residence alternate, a shape-shifting entity that uses human identities to deceive and manipulate its victims. The Murray Residence alternate is a lanky, tall figure with unnatural proportions. Its face is often distorted or vacant, depending on the human it impersonates. It mimics people, gaining trust before manipulating them mentally, often with unnerving behavior. First encountered in volume 333, it has haunted the Murray residence, known for tormenting the household with its disturbing impersonations. Like Pennywise, this alternate feeds on the psychological trauma of its victims. So, kids, never step on your odd neighbor's lawn or else. N. Probably the alternate behind the Murray's residence. N is a pitch-black humanoid with a long neck, black hair, and a stark white face. One of his eyes is a hollow black void, and a white nose seems oddly centered between the dark and light sides of his face, like the love child of Slenderman and Ghostface. N first appears near the end of the episode during the Know Your Enemy segment of the Think Principle, serving as an example of the Type 3 alternate as the alternate of Nicholas Berenger. N's abilities range from shape-shifting to inducing the MAD disorder like other alternates. But unlike most alternates, N specializes in dream manipulation, tormenting people from within their minds, as seen with Jude Murray.
What do you want from me?
Teleport victims, as implied when Jude is mysteriously moved from a closet to his bedroom. So if you think teleportation is cool, just remember that when N does it, you're not going somewhere fun. The original alternate. The original alternate is one of the earliest and most unsettling alternates in the Mandela Catalogue, appearing during the events of the Garden of Eden. This figure, implied to be an alternate version of the biblical Adam, is the first of its kind shown in the series after Gabriel himself. Towering over Eve with an eerie, expressionless face, it exudes an unnatural presence, its very existence seemingly tied to the corruption of humanity. Unlike in your average Sunday school lesson, this version of Adam did not just take the apple, he got replaced entirely. Its abilities are nothing short of terrifying. Its mere presence induces MAD, metaphysical awareness disorder, a fate worse than simply losing your faith. It can darken the sky, obscuring the stars, making even the most unpolluted night feel suffocating. Theories suggest this entity set the foundation for alternates as a whole, turning a moment of deception into an endless cycle of horror. So yeah, forget the talking snake. The real nightmare was Adam's doppelganger. Think Principal Alternates. In the series of the Think Principal tapes, multiple alternate victims were shown. The Think Principal is a VHS tape recording of emergency alert broadcasts designed to educate citizens on how to identify and defend against alternates. These alternate victims range from an adult woman, a teenage boy, to an elderly man. Though it is unknown how the USDTP got their before and after images, it's possible that they sourced those from their captive alternates being kept for research. The alternates that preyed on these victims are classified into three types: the doppelgangers, the detectable, and the flawed impersonators. These alternates thrive on psychological warfare, using fear, deception, and distorted messages to break their victims long before they ever think of resisting. Aside from the victims, major villains like Gabriel were also shown in the tapes. If you've watched the tapes, consider yourself warned because, just like the victims, not even therapy and pills can save you. Adam Murray. Adam Murray is, by all appearances, just a guy. Introduced in Act 1 of the Mandela Catalogue Volume 2, Adam is a chill dude running a ghost hunting operation with his best friend Jonah, taking jobs that would make any sane person run in the opposite direction. But something about him does not quite add up. He is weirdly immune to MAD, has visions that make no sense, and seems a little too comfortable around the supernatural. It's like these two are Ghostbusters, but Adam might be a ghost in disguise. Some theories suggest that Adam is not entirely human. Maybe he is an alternate, or maybe something even stranger. His past is a mystery, and his connection to the Mandela County chaos is unsettling at best. If he really is an alternate, does he even know, or is he a ticking time bomb waiting to go off? Regardless, if you ever find yourself in Mandela County, you might want to rethink answering Craigslist ads for ghost hunting gigs posted by Adam.
Together, we will be still.
The Boiled One. The Boiled One, known officially as Fen228, is a towering black mass with a red, melted face that creeps into your bed, waking you up in your sleep to show you a real-life nightmare. His first recorded appearance was during a rerun of a 2003 kids show called Tree of Heaven, which he hijacked in the middle of a scene involving a birthday cake and a puppet. The Boiled One's identity remains a mystery, but the leading theory is that he is Mutsuhiro Watanabe, a Japanese war criminal also known as the Bird. This is suggested by the final message in the video, which translates from Japanese as "Fear of the one and only one Watanabe, the Bird," classified as a cognito hazard, which means just seeing the Boiled One's face is enough to screw you over, and if you fall asleep after that. Congratulations, you've just enrolled in a one-way trip to pseudocoma. You'll be fully awake, totally paralyzed, and stuck in a looping dream where he's the only thing that talks. In other words, you'll get sleep paralysis. And if you're into some weird type of stuff and say, "Hear me out," well, just wait till you see the oiled one at your bedside and yap this.
As a manifestation of my being in the future, you will be asleep in bed. I will be there and watch over you.
So, want to survive, don't look at his face. If you have already done it, don't sleep and don't even take a nap. Using earplugs helps. Reading Bible verses might help to summon Archangel Michael. But really, your best bet is denial and a gallon of caffeine. Because the Boiled One doesn't chase, he waits, simmering in the folds of your mind, knowing once you've seen his face, sleep isn't rest, it's surrender. The Locust. The Locust, or the Thump, is a walking jump scare dressed in stick-like black limbs and childlike desperation. It's the main antagonist of Dr. Nowhere's TOE and Smilehood analog horror series. It's a monster that would like to play with you by ripping through your screen and possibly digesting your insides without leaving a scratch. Its body is stick-thin and biomechanical, covered in tube-like appendages and wires. It lures in victims by appearing on old televisions, pretending to be innocent with childlike speech and clumsy punctuation. But don't fall for the baby talk. This thing eats people, sort of. Victims are found with their bodies untouched, with organs gone and souls probably digested. It's been seen standing silently in rooms with faded wallpaper, like a kid's drawing of a nightmare that never got erased. If you see it on your screen, turn the TV off immediately. Smash it if you have to. If it's already broken through, forget hiding and just run. But it's absurdly fast and smarter than it lets on, so a car might buy you time. A motorbike? Maybe. And when you hear this needy call, it's not looking for snacks. It's looking for you. Just don't talk back. This thing doesn't want company. It wants your organs and a friend to pretend with. Philbus. A monster with chair-like legs, Philbus is a walking paradox of furniture, faith, and fashion. With a jet-black torso, beige skin, and a charming little top hat, Philbus looks like someone mashed up smiling friends Alan with a broken theatre prop and decided it was a deity. And depending on who you ask, they might be right. Philbus is tied to something called Philbism, an internet-born religion. Its core belief is that Philbus gave humanity the sacred gift of the chair, and that consuming chairs honors his great sacrifice. No one knows what the sacrifice was, or when, or why it involved chairs, but followers claim enlightenment comes from eating them. Wooden ones, IKEA ones, even recliners if you're brave. The unsettling part, media that mentions Philbus or Philbism becomes infected. It turns into subtle propaganda. From articles, videos, and even this script, people exposed to it start referencing chairs, praising Philbus, and obsessively talking about chair anatomy while totally denying anything weird is happening. So if you're still watching and you haven't microwaved a dining chair yet, congratulations, you might still be safe. But if you're feeling the urge to just take a nibble, then I have bad news for you. You're going to look like a soft-shell turtle with stool-like legs. Guilt. An entity that looks like someone soaked a corpse in bleach and left it to dry, guilt is as haunting as it is quiet. It first appeared in The Boy in the Bath. From the moment it emerges beside the bathtub, it's clear that this isn't just a monster. It's a memory that got too heavy to drown. Guilt, also referred to as the boy, is presumed to be the physical or psychological manifestation of a parent's overwhelming shame. The bathroom becomes its domain, the tub its altar. Its behavior is slow, eerie, and painfully intimate, like it doesn't want to hurt you, just remind you. It's tall and unnervingly lanky, with a flattened, sliced head and a deteriorated neck sprouting roots or mold from its throat. It stares without blinking. It speaks in a voice you wish you could forget. Why did you leave me here? I never existed to you. The crib in the room, the toys on the floor, and the silence around the tub suggest one thing, that this creature was a child who was left alone, or feared to be. Whether guilt is real or imagined depends on who's watching and what they've done or didn't do. When you encounter guilt, it's easy to survive. You simply must not have any guilt. So, don't repress, don't forget, and definitely don't pretend nothing happened. Still feeling emotionally stable? Don't worry. Guilt's great at fixing that. Free therapy, no copay, just a bit of mold, a tub, and a crippling sense of failure. Cone zone. Cone zones are tall, sorrowful-looking entities with bodies like collapsed shadows and heads shaped like a cone. Their pale faces are frozen in a permanent sad expression, with long thin limbs and muscle tissue so frail it looks like they've been skipping leg day since the dawn of time. They rarely move, and honestly, they don't need to, because you'll come to them. These entities show up during something called the 0.001% phenomenon, a rare and poorly understood event reported by patients in psychiatric wards. They appear friendly, inviting, even comforting. You might feel like talking to them, but don't, because that's how they get in. Cone zones don't attack. They erode and talk softly, almost lovingly, while gently nudging your mind off the edge. Victims report a slow, irreversible descent into madness after extended exposure. Some even claim the cone zones helped them understand everything. Spoiler, they did not. If you see one, don't make eye contact, don't engage, perform reality checks, touch something real, say, I am here, I am safe, and mean it. Think of cone zones like your sad boy ex trying to reach you, convincing you that he's changed with his soft words that after some time will kill you not softly. Ankläger. The star of the Dr. Nowhere monsters, Anklägers are beaming nightmares dressed for Judgment Day. These humanoid beings wear flowing black robes, but it's their heads that do all the talking. A giant luminous starburst with a single glowing eye in the center. They're the entities who watched too much Judge Judy and decided to become one. Anklägers show up when you've done something really bad, like something even you don't want to admit. They don't speak and chase, they appear in softly glowing hallways, and suddenly you're face to face with every awful thing you've ever done. Regret floods in, and then comes the choice. You can repent, beg, break down, and try to make it right. Or you can deny everything and stand your ground. That second option, not recommended. Denial earns you a front row seat to the Anklager's wrath, a blinding flash of searing divine light that leaves nothing behind but ash and maybe some ironic symbolism. Want to survive an Anklager? Don't be a garbage person. Do some self-reflect, make a journal, and maybe don't commit soul-crushing sins, or keep doing you and hope you never see that glowing star in the hallway. However, if you unfortunately meet them, prepare your sunglasses, an extra SPF 100 sunscreen because you're about to receive a vaporization verdict and get exfoliated at the same time. Flesh beds. Flesh beds are parasitic mattress imposters that combine the comfort of sleep with the efficiency of slow, silent digestion. Also known by the scientific name Populus coolcita, these freaks of biology mimic ordinary bedding during hibernation, and yes, people have cuddled up on one and never woken up. The first confirmed victim was Alice Diger. Fittingly, her last name literally means to digest. They're terrifyingly stealthy, lightning fast once active, and sensitive to body heat. If you're warm, you're food. Their favorite time to strike is during sleep, making them the ultimate betrayal of bedtime. Flesh beds detect heat shifts in the room and, once activated, unravel like living fabric to feed clean, quiet, and efficient. Their most infamous chapter was in the 1960s when they were unknowingly distributed as part of a welfare bedding initiative. Entire low-income communities were supplied with flesh beds, leading to mass disappearances that were never officially recorded but left entire housing blocks eerily silent by morning. Dr. Nowhere has since tried to trace the damage, but the numbers have literally vanished, just like the victims. How can you protect yourself from flesh beds? First, sleep with a fan on, and second, ensure that there's a constant airflow that keeps them dormant, or don't. Maybe you enjoy being a midnight snack under the sheets. Breathman. Probably the most unsettling looking monster created by Dr. Nowhere, Breathmans are headless, skeletal creatures with pale, stretched skin and limbs long enough to make Slenderman look compact, with fingers that are like salad tongs designed by a sleep paralysis demon. Breathmans live in the headless macrocosm, a dream-based version of our world where every human has been replaced by them. You can only enter by dreaming about it, and if you wake up there, you've won the worst vacation package imaginable. They can't see, hear, or smell, but they feel everything. Your footsteps, your breath, and the vibration of your heartbeat. They're in constant agony from their inability to breathe, and your presence makes it worse. Sometimes they lash out, sometimes they just watch. Either way, sleep becomes a terrible idea once you've seen them. To avoid them, don't move, stay silent and control your breathing. Anything you do might be the thing that sets them off, and if you ever dream of their world, whatever you do, don't fall asleep again. Breathman can't scream, so they make sure you do it for them. The Horned Serpent. The Horned Serpent, also known as the Liberty Lurker, is a massive, scaly terror slithering beneath the Earth's crust. It has horns and can generate electricity from its head, making it a deadly combination of folklore and nightmare. This creature was once George Washington, but after stumbling into Wonderland while chopping down a sacred tree, something twisted inside him, transforming him into this monstrous being. Now, the founding father became the founding titan of monuments. Its first appearance was in 1972 with Project Horned Serpent, a military disaster that paved the way for the unification of 1980. In August 1985, it crawled out of the Statue of Liberty itself, serving as a physical manifestation of destruction. What makes the Horned Serpent a true force of mass destruction is its control over alternate realities. It can also manipulate objects and its own size, communicate telepathically, and even mess with your dreams. It has a knack for tormenting people into doing its bidding, like with Ferdinand de Lesseps during the construction of the Suez Canal. And if that wasn't scary enough, part of it resides under the Statue of Liberty, watching and waiting for immigrant sacrifices. Does that sound familiar? But here's the real kicker. Some believe that the Horned Serpent could be the size of the Earth, while others think there's more than one. Either way, I just hope it will never emerge from the monument near you, unless you want this massive snake to enter you. Richard Nixon. The god of the Nixonverse isn't just a man, but a pale spectral echo of power, wearing the face of Richard Nixon. Also known as the Moon God, he looms over the story like a cold overseer. His physical traits vague, but his presence impossible to ignore. His life is identical to the real-life version, but instead of facing Hubert Humphrey, he'd face the Riz King, James Dean. Fast forward, Nixon attained superhuman powers in the Deanverse after his encounter with the Horned Serpent. Now, instead of running for office this time, he just rewrote reality. From the lunar surface, he created the D-Day Night, the Last Sun, and the Queen of the Lunarians to test humanity. His powers, practically divine, he can rewrite timelines, birth beings from nothing, manipulate environments with a thought, and bend reality like paper. His telekinetic reach lets him influence Earth from afar. His creation of life shows near omnipotence, and his mimicry reveals deep-rooted adaptability, choosing the familiar to hide the unfathomable. Eventually, he ends the Nixonverse himself after murdering Ed Dwight on the moon. To stop the Crescent King, Nixon turns everything into fiction, like literally. He erases the world by writing it as a comic, but in doing so, he makes Ed Dwight the true god, one even greater than Nixon. Talk about rewriting history. D-Day Night. The D-Day Night is what happens when Frank Sinatra takes a detour into alternate reality horror. Draped in a black cloak, wearing a skull helmet with serpent horns, he starts off humanoid but later morphs into a towering eldritch mass of black flesh and madness. Created by Richard Nixon, who's also referred to as God after the Great Division. The D-Day Night was humanity's test to see whether we could accept something more powerful than ourselves. He debuted during the Alcatraz checkmate sequence, facing Lunarians and fragments of his past life. More anti-hero than monster, but still terrifying. This guy's loaded with powers: flight, strength, regeneration, size manipulation, and matter blasts that could level reality itself. He helped American troops survive the brutal D-Day, then vanished into the shadows, but hiding didn't mean retiring. When the Lunarians came to colonize Earth, he was the only thing standing in their way. That was his message to the Lunarian Queen before unleashing the Alcatraz checkmate. As the sworn enemy of both the Queen and the last son of Alcatraz, the D-Day Night might just be the strongest force in the Nixonverse, aside from God, of course. In the end, he and his enemies, the Lunarian Queen and the last son, were erased along with his universe when Nixon rewrote reality itself. What a way to cancel someone. Last Son of Alcatraz. The next one is the D-Day Night's rival and the other main antagonist in the Monument Mythos Nixonverse. The Last Son of Alcatraz is basically Superman if he crash-landed into a political nightmare and never found his moral compass. Suited up in grayscale tights with a cape and a zero hope symbol, he looks heroic until you learn what he's really about. Just like the D-Day Night and the Lunarian Queen born, he was meant to test humanity's acceptance of divine power. He dreamed of saving people until a fatal car crash flipped that dream into a twisted need to win. After that, he believed he could fly, then actually did. From there, it only got weirder. This guy can shapeshift, soar at blinding speeds, and may even be a fragment of the Horned Serpent. Unleashed in Vietnam as part of Operation Sweep and Redeem, he laid waste to the country, helping to transform it into America's Bethlehem, the 51st state. He was a towering figure in World War II, growing nearly 30 meters tall, but during his time in Korea, missiles knocked out his eye, which was replaced by a Lunarian one, forever altering his path. He and the D-Day Night were total opposites, like night and day, but neither survived Nixon's rewrite. When reality got retconned, he vanished, cape, powers, and all. A lost son in more ways than one. Crescent King. Crescent King is a terrifying presence from the depths of cosmic horror. This monster is malevolent and completely devoid of mercy. He appears as a tall, slender humanoid with a pale crescent-shaped head and an ominous, dark cloak. No face, no features, just a shape that haunts the mind. His origin is unknown, but he is presumed to be the king of the Lunarians due to his lunar connection. He was first noticed through the strange houses in the ocean, the mysterious structures that emerged across Earth's seas. Footage suggests he lived in them, watching and subtly luring people inside, warping their minds without lifting a finger. The Crescent King's abilities are as chilling as his silence. He manipulates minds, commands the Lunarian army, and possibly stems from the Horned Serpent itself. His power manifested gradually. First, he used the ocean houses to manipulate individuals. Then, he launched the Lunarian invasion of Earth, establishing himself as a warlord of psychic and alien terror. Eventually, he resurfaced through the last son of Alcatraz, whose transformation into the king marked a new phase of horror. Although the son broke free after Alcatraz checkmate, turning into the Horned Serpent's image, it's unclear if the Crescent King truly vanished. As a mimetic, non-corporeal being, he might still be out there, unseen but not forgotten. Monument Monster. What if instead of a donkey, the true symbol of the Democrats is Mickey Mouse? That's not a joke in the world of Monument Mythos. The Monument Monster, also known as Mickey Mouse, is a twisted version of the iconic cartoon, secretly leading the Democratic Party for generations. He's recognizable by his warped bunny-like ears and an unsettling head that often flips upside down. Born on the island of Alcatraz, who saw potential in the mouse and replicated him, the Monument Monster joined forces with the debate demon to orchestrate global nuclear devastation. Their mission was to feed Alcatraz with the radiation necessary to spread its influence. Together, they manipulated world leaders under Operation Seed, pushing humanity towards self-destruction. The monster holds immense strength, absurd durability, and a body so unnerving it's practically a weapon. More disturbingly, he exerts paranormal political influence. In one moment, Joe Biden is shown sketching him, calling him "my boss." After Robert Pattinson became president, the monster mentally broke him down until he launched a nuclear strike on the world. To avoid being reabsorbed by Alcatraz, the monster and demon fled to another universe, eventually becoming Tree and Serpent in the Deanverse. Still, glimpses of the monument monster like him stalking Lincoln remind us he's more than myth, he's history rewritten. Debate Demon. The Debate Demon, also known as Virginia Fate Arnoldson, is the unsettling puppet master behind the Republican Party. She is a solid MAGA monster that Trumpies would for sure love. At a young age, she was sent to the Walt Disney Home for Children after her parents' tragic deaths. There, isolated and affected by the mysterious Wonderland, she built 18 houses from special tree wood and eventually vanished, emerging later as a spider-like being warped by American Wonderland syndrome. Her grotesque form is shrouded in shadow, with too many limbs and a twisted, elongated maw. She doesn't just speak, she distorts voices into chaos, mimicking public figures and debates to amplify fear, rage, and confusion. Her influence is psychic, social, and at times political. She manipulated Republican candidates in 2023 and was even drawn by Donald Trump, who labeled her "my boss." Alongside the Monument Monster, she pushed President Pattinson into unleashing Operation Seed and triggering a nuclear holocaust, fuel for their master, Alcatraz. But when Alcatraz's true intent to absorb them became clear, she and the monster fled, possessing Kthanaut A to escape the universe. Reborn in a new realm as the Serpent, she wove the events of the original Monument Mythos series. Guess you could say she spun a whole new web of reality. Air Force One Angel. Air Force One Angel is what happens when death fails to take its due. Once 17 soldiers lost to a government experiment called Rockefeller Revelation, their atoms fused through geyser glass into a single entity. Resembling a glowing, thread-like nervous system, this angel is far from divine in appearance, but it's bound by purpose. It can fly without limits, phase through matter, manipulate electricity, and fire lasers strong enough to melt bunkers. Despite lacking organs, it flies Air Force One effortlessly, pulling on the memories of the soldiers it used to be. Immortal, intangible, and self-sufficient, the angel is neither dead nor alive. It's just watching and waiting. After Earth's ruin, the angel begs Kthanaut A, a dimension traveler, for another chance. He advises it to dissolve itself across time. It complies, rewrites its past, and allows freedom to decapitate it, halting the Great Division. In the final act of unity, it fuses with Everett, Freedom, and the souls of Nina and Thomas, creating a more perfect union. Together, they obliterate the Martian serpent and ascend into the stars as a constellation called Manticore. When asked what it's made of, the angel responds simply, "Good people." It's a reminder that even in the strangest forms, sacrifice can become something cosmic. The Iris. The Iris is the conscious, planet-like entity that serves as the main antagonist in the Gemini Home entertainment series. It resembles a colossal eye drifting through space, watching Earth from a distance. But this isn't just some oversized space peeper. It's a cosmic parasite with a god complex and a thirst for control. It is unknown when the Iris first entered our solar system, but at some point it attempted to mutate Jupiter, resulting in the formation of the Great Red Spot, a gaping wound in the planet as the Iris refers to it. The Iris's influence spreads across the galaxy like an infection. Its spores burrow, twisting ecosystems into grotesque, fleshy mockeries of life. Earth? It's just another victim. Every deer, tree, and unlucky hiker becomes raw material for the Iris to reshape into its growing hive of horrors. What makes it worse is its patience. The Iris doesn't invade like an alien fleet. It creeps in through wildlife and outdated VHS tapes. It manipulates through the analog archives and rewrites biology like it's editing a mixtape from hell. An example of this is when the Iris drops a chilling line in the 3rd episode saying, "The stars are moving now. Do you see the hungry eye? Here I am." In 1991, the Crusader 5 probe vanished inside the Iris. It reappeared 7 months later, and by June 24, 1994, the Iris was on Earth. What happened next is a mystery, but one thing is clear. The Iris is watching, and it's closer than ever. The mutated moons. The mutated moons are not exactly monsters, but broken satellites twisted by the Iris. Some became known as the moons of Iris, each spreading corruption with every turn. After the Crusader 5 probe lost contact near Neptune, it didn't find the planet. Neptune had vanished. In its place were mutated satellites that once orbited Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus, now unrecognizable. Themis is a desolate shard from Saturn. Hestia and Cadlu, moons of Jupiter and Uranus, are fused into a swollen husk drifting in silence. These objects didn't just mutate but were harvested. The most disturbing of these is Cyst, a deformed moon shaped like a peanut and wrapped in root-like tendrils. It's like the universe's worst rash, an infection you can see from light years away. It is believed to be the fused corpse of Hestia and Cadlu. Cyst orbits the iris alongside other abominations like Macula, a glowing red sphere covered in veins, and Vitreous, a grotesque fusion of stone and tissue. They are not just moons, they are parasitic extensions of the iris itself. These moons are not dead, they pulse and watch, and like the iris, they carry a silent threat. Wherever they drift, the cycle of infection continues. With each orbit, the moons of Iris spread decay across the stars. Neptune. The very symbol of the Gemini home entertainment series, Neptune, isn't just a distant ice giant anymore. It's now a cursed delivery system for cosmic body horror. Once orbiting quietly between Uranus and the Iris, it has mutated with alien intent. The Iris didn't just corrupt Neptune, it weaponized it. A tree, yes, a tree, was planted on its surface, eerily resembling the human sacrifice statue seen later on Earth. This tree isn't decorative, it's a launch pad. From Neptune, a blast radiated outward, likely carrying horrors like the gardeners and woodcrawlers directly to Earth. Suddenly, Neptune isn't just a planet, it's a transit hub for abominations. Discovered in 1846 by Leverrier and Gall, Neptune's legacy now includes being nicknamed the Lens, suggesting it has grown an eye, an actual eye. If you pause the Our Solar System tape at just the right frame, you'll see it. An eyeball gazing through the great dark spot, a subtle detail that's hard to miss. With its methane blue clouds and violet scars, Neptune now orbits as a possessed husk. Unlike Jupiter and Saturn, which are also infected but seemingly passive, Neptune is an active accomplice in Earth's infection. It doesn't just observe, it delivers, and whatever it's delivering, it's already here. The Gardener. Moving on from celestial objects to an actual monster, the Gardener is a large, six-limbed creature looking like a one-eyed octopus. But this isn't your average seafood nightmare. Gardeners are agents of the Iris, sent to Earth to prep the soil, like for real. With long spindly limbs and a glowing central eye, they skitter through shadowy forests and deep-sea trenches, like alien landscapers from hell. Their main job? Planting iris spores into the ground to birth even more horrors. Think of them as midwives for nightmares. They live in places called the Gardens, caverns that run from 40 to 11,000 feet below Earth's surface. In these fleshy subterranean nurseries, they tend to the spores and wrap up unlucky intruders like gift baskets of fresh DNA. One was even spotted near Moonlight Acres camp, politely knocking on cabin doors like a Jehovah's Witness, except behind it were skinwalkers, and instead of pamphlets, they offered lifelong possession. Some roamed the Demisure Tunnel in the Mariana Trench, helping their underwater cousins terraform the ocean floor. Whether it's under the ground or in the sea, gardeners are everywhere, reshaping the earth from the inside out. You just won't see them until they see you first. Nature's mockery. Nature's mockery may sound funny, but it's definitely not a good joke. This twisted plant is what happens when nature gets infected, corrupted, and decides to parody humanity with something straight out of a nightmare. Nature's mockery is the final punchline of deep root disease, turning victims into red, bloated husks with twitching limbs poking out like bad taxidermy. It starts off looking like a weird tree stump, ruddy in color, with a lumpy base and some warped tendrils, but it doesn't stay still. It grows by absorbing people, distorting them until they're no longer recognizable as human. Victims can end up trapped inside, their consciousness still intact, doomed to repeat words like a broken record. Contact with one isn't just gross, it's dangerous. We're talking hallucinations, muscular paralysis, skin rot, and full body disfigurement. As if that wasn't enough, the infection doesn't kill you outright. It roots you into the ground, keeps you alive, and then makes you part of the next stage, something the footage won't even show. So yeah, this isn't just a bad trip. Nature's mockery can't only make you high, but can surely make you die. If you see one, don't touch it, don't talk to it, just run. Wretch. Wretch is a monster far more terrifying than the Kodiak bear. This thing didn't just evolve, it mutated into an abomination made of bone, sinew, and stolen bodies, stitched together by something far more ancient than nature. Once an ordinary brown bear, it was sacrificed to the Iris at Moonlight Acres camp by Glenn Arthur, who tried to cut corners by offering an animal instead of a human. A total big mistake. The Iris reanimated it, warped it, and turned it into the Wretch, a towering freak of meat and misery, roughly the size of 2 telephone poles. Its skeletal legs stretch like stilts, each tipped with grotesquely human-like hands. The skin is a red mess covered in holes and sprouting roots, like a disease that learned how to walk. The wretch doesn't just kill, it collects. Cabin by cabin, it ripped through the camp, absorbing victims into its fleshy frame, including Mary Dean, who was a camper. By the time it crashed the 1985 Christmas Eve party, it was a full-blown massacre. And let's be honest, this is a bear even girls wouldn't choose. The wretch isn't a woodland predator anymore. It's a punishment wrapped in muscle, wandering the earth to remind us what happens when you cheat the rules of something divine. Root. Next up is a virus-like predecessor to the monsters discussed earlier. Like nature's mockery, Root is a microscopic horror with a growth mindset. These small parasites from the iris don't just infect, they infiltrate, multiply, and rebuild the human body from the inside out. It all starts with what looks like a harmless blister, then comes the sprout. Next thing you know, your bones are branching, your body's immobilized, and you're slowly being rewired into something unrecognizable. Roots are responsible for spreading deep root disease, an infection that turns humans into stringy, nerve-filled husks. Victims remain alive and conscious throughout the process, unable to move or scream as the roots puppeteer their body like organic yarn. As shown in Home Invasion Help, roots aren't fatal, or at least not in the traditional sense. The infection eventually morphs the host into a nature's mockery, but the horror doesn't stop there. Once the transformation is complete, the host breaks apart and something worse emerges from its remains. So if you ever spot a weird bulb on your skin, maybe don't brush it off. Root doesn't need a second chance. Once it's in, you're just fertilizer waiting to bloom into a nightmare. Woodcrawler. Woodcrawler looks like a giant spider, but far worse than anything your nightmares have prepared you for. These arachnid-like aliens from the iris aren't here to spin silk. They're here to spin lies, as they literally turn people into fake people. Think of them as 8-legged home invaders with a taste for identity theft. Rarely seen in full, woodcrawlers are often glimpsed as shadowy limbs or glowing single eyes peeking from the dark. Their legs resemble those of a harvestman and come in off-white or greyish-black. Though slightly taller than a human, they move in eerie silence, crawling beneath homes and through floorboards without a sound. And when they strike, they don't just kill, you're entered, overwritten, and replaced. Some speculate they use a proboscis or long nose to get inside their victim, or it could be that they enter through the nose. Creeped out yet? They're found across North America and are especially fond of large families. One minute you're sitting in your living room, the next you're a puppet. Woodcrawlers can even crush vehicles, like in games for kids, and have been dubbed skinwalkers by guests at Moonlight Acres family camp. So remember, this isn't your friendly neighborhood spider, because you wouldn't want this to shoot its web on you.
I know you're scared.
Bon. Bon is a possessed animatronic serving as the series' main antagonist. He's the leader of the Showstoppers, a band of malfunctioning mascots pretending to entertain. As a possessed bunny mascot, he's like a hybrid of Chucky and Jack the Rabbit, towering with blue fur, glitching eyes, and a smile so wide it looks like it is auditioning for your next anxiety attack. Once the cheerful mascot of Bon's Burgers, Bon the Dancing Rabbit, was meant to sing songs, shake his fluffy blue hips, and entertain kids. Then Jack Walton mysteriously disappeared and Bon snapped. Now he's less Chuck E. Cheese and more like a build-a-body horror. He's not just possessed, he's curated. The thing inside Bon is a white, faceless figure with scars instead of expressions and business casual instead of soul. This spirit hijacked the animatronic, turning Bon from a friendly fuzzball to a walking executioner with claws sharp enough to dismember kids and even adults. For him, he doesn't just kill, he thinks that he makes people beautiful. How? By stuffing their bodies into suits, he crafted his own army of possessed mascots. A hair-raising example is what he does to Rosemary.
Rose Broden will fix you. You are beautiful. You are beautiful. You are beautiful.
In Wonderland, a subhuman reality, Bon plays nicely. He's calm, clever, and even persuasive. He speaks softly, manipulates harder, and gifts you a rabbit mask as if becoming an animatronic corpse is a glow-up. But behind the velvet voice is a sadist who can travel through VHS tapes, toy with memories, and smile through murder, sometimes literally covering his eyes because, deep down, even he flinches at the mess he makes. Buzu. Buzu is the human magician animatronic and one of the 4 original members of the Showstoppers from Bon's Burgers. In his prime, Buzu looked like a magician you'd hire for your kid's birthday if your kid liked slightly unsettling mustaches and deep British voices. He wore a black top hat, red jacket, white gloves, and a smile that says, "I know your secrets." But now, his outfit's ripped, his mouth's broken, and he's got more exposed metal than a scrapyard on fire. After Bon's Burgers shut down, Buzu was dumped in the K9 facility during the Relocate project along with the other Showstoppers. Bunny Smiles Inc. hoped to reopen the restaurant, but forgot one tiny detail, repairing him. Instead, 3 texts were sent in without proper tools, time, or a clue. The result? A twitchy wreck with a dead man living rent-free inside. In Bunny Farm, it is confirmed that Charles Brooke is behind the mustache as he's Bond's second victim. His soul, memory, or whatever's left of him now runs the horror show. Also in Bunny Farm, Buzu cheerfully says,
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, step right up. Get ready for entertainment like you've never seen before.
and he's right. His games start cute, then spiral into glitchy trauma, red figures, and bloodied faces. By the end, Buzu became hollow, his jaw gone and his eyes black. Charles is still trapped inside and the show never ends. Banny. Next up is another bunny mascot variant. Banny is a purple humanoid rabbit animatronic possessed by Susan Woodings, the first victim of Bond's twisted legacy, an employee who was forcibly shoved inside Banny. Imagine just waiting for your shift to end, only to become some ugly, creepy mascot forever. Originally a poor young woman with dreams crushed by poverty, Susan's fate took a dark turn when Bond transformed her into this animatronic shell. Banny's broken form shows patches of exposed endoskeleton and a hole in her chest, evidence of years of neglect and malfunction. Though the animatronic itself is lifeless, Susan's spirit inside gives Banny a bubbly, sometimes sarcastic personality, often standing up to her overbearing boss, Bond. She's confirmed to be 16 and openly lesbian, adding layers to her surprisingly complex character trapped in a mechanical body. During the Relocate project, Banny's twitching face and the repeating phrase, reveal the torment Susan endures. In Bunny Farm, Banny's cheerful facade cracks as her games devolve into glitchy chaos and haunting distortions because a starving animatronic is just one missed meal away from a full-blown exorcism. Banny's story is a harsh reminder that Bond's Burgers doesn't just ruin appetites, it ruins lives. Shah. A white-furred animatronic once meant to entertain kids, Shah is now a corrupted mascot seeking help but spreading fear with every glitch. After Rosemary's husband Jack vanished, she searched the restaurant every day, only to be lured by Bond and stuffed inside Shah's body. Now, Rosemary gets to enjoy forever being stuck as a broken mascot, because who wouldn't want that? Shah's fluffy, motherly appearance hides the horror inside. Her intact form shows a soft face, a gold collar, and sharp teeth. Yet her damaged version is filthy and torn with gaping holes that reveal the metallic skeleton and a massive gash across her chest. Despite the horror inside her, Shah acts mature and kind in Bunny Farm, playing hide-and-seek with players before her decaying form and Rosemary's face hijack the fun. She often glitches during company tapes, subtly hinting at the broken soul stuffed behind the fleece. She's the second most prominent showstopper, glitching her way through flashbacks and technical errors that reveal what Bond did. One minute she's smiling in a cartoon, the next she's creeping out from behind trees with hollow eyes. Shah isn't a Baba black sheep, but a Baba bad omen, wool-soaked in secrets and a smile that hides screams. Billy. Billy is the birthday party clown you wish you had never booked. Unlike the main showstoppers, Billy isn't meant for stage performances. He's a side attraction with a crescent smile frozen on his face, a green jumpsuit stitched with tears, and a stomach that doubles as a tape recorder. That last part isn't just quirky design, it's where Ashley Parks ended up after Bond caught her snooping around. With red clown hair, a yellow coat, and a white ruffle, Billy looks like the dollar store version of a birthday nightmare. He's got black hollow eye sockets and a missing glove that exposes his metal hand because subtlety was clearly off the table. In the Relocate project, Ashley found him in the K9 storage area and played a tape from his stomach listing Bond's victims. Seconds later, she joined the list. His cartoon version tones down the horror, skipping the tape recorder and sticking with a more classic clown vibe. But even in 2D, he feels off, like too cheerful and too empty. Billy may have been built for laughs, but he ended up full of screams. He's not just a party clown, he's the final act in Bond's deadly show, a real boohoo instead of boohoo-hoo. Rocket. The most rabbit-looking out of all the bunny-styled animatronics, Rocket was never built for Bond's Burgers. He was made in 1970 by Jack Walten and Felix Kranken as a Christmas present for Jack's kids, Ed and Molly. After their tragic deaths in a car crash caused by Felix, Rocket became the only thing Felix couldn't bring himself to throw away. That's because Ed and Molly never really left, they're still in there. Rocket is small, grey and doll-like, with white accents, a blue bow tie and one lonely black button. Over time, he's become worn, his limbs cracked and an ear was shredded. In Bunny Farm, he appears everywhere. He's peeking through windows, guiding Sophie, even delivering blunt guilt. You crashed the car, you killed them. He shows up across the series, sometimes barely noticeable, other times chillingly direct. In Cyberfun Tech, Rocket is seen inside Molly's backpack and later at the scene where Susan is stuffed into Banny. At one point, you can even see Ed and Molly's eyes inside him, just before everything descends into chaos. Rocket may look like a cute keepsake, but he's haunted by guilt, grief, and two souls that never made it home. He's not a toy. He's a ticking memory bomb wrapped in fluff. Shadow Man. Shadow Man is the guy your brain invents when it wants you to stop sleeping forever, except he's real. He looks like someone turned the idea of a shadow into a person. No face, just a pitch black figure standing where nobody should be. Sometimes he has big cartoon eyes, but sometimes not. He first shows up in the Relocate project behind Little Bon and Shah, then blocks hallways like he owns the place. When Rosemary gets turned into animatronic stuffing, he strolls in and breaks reality just by existing. In Bunny Farm, he goes full peekaboo mode, watching from windows, chilling in doorways, or being held like a comfort toy by Billy. Comfort. Right. In Cyberfun Tech and Lacrimosa, he shows up on TVs and backstage like a weird theater kid who never left. He doesn't talk, but somehow he's always the last thing you see. Nobody knows exactly what he is, but the lyrics in the Showstoppers song slowly heavily hint that the Shadow Man is Felix Kranken. Lines like Shadow Man watches from the dark, he knows he wrecked that car and swears he had no part, he has no heart, seem to reference Felix's car crash and his big heart speech from the Relocate project. Whatever he truly is, when Shadow Man appears, things glitch, lights die, and reality forgets how to behave. So yeah, sleep tight. Non-canon monsters. The non-canon monsters are characters in the Walten Files that are just as scary as the canon monsters. They are like the weird cousins you don't invite to your parties. The first of them is Pumpkin Rabbit. This Halloween fever dream is basically what happens when a jack-o'-lantern and a cryptid rabbit have a child and forget to love it. He stars in The Mysterious House, a side story with zero chill and even less logic. He talks, he kills, and he calls himself Lorenzo Waterman. Then there's Snow Bear, a jolly winter friend who used to be canon until he got yeeted into the void of retcons. He's basically Bon in a snowman suit, cute until he isn't. Tammy, Jay, Paco, and Ralph all live in the Mysterious House too. They're like bootleg animatronics trying really hard to be scary. Tammy just stands around, Jay floats like a cursed emoji, Paco makes you wish the power would go out, and Ralph is just loud. And Rachel Waterman? She's there too, kind of, mostly to scream and die. They may not count in the main story, but these forgotten nightmares still show up in your dreams. Off-brand horror still bites hard. Crawl. Crawl or climb the meat is the root system of the Vita Carnis family. It's a nightmare that learned how to garden if your garden grew meat, absorbed corpses, and devoured radio signals. Imagine someone spilled a tangled mass of small intestines across the forest floor, then gave it a brain and a diet plan. These red, vein-filled tendrils creep like mold across any terrain. They feed on soil, waste, and even sunlight, performing their own freakish version of photosynthesis. Each tendril is a grotesque fusion of arteries and organs, all working together to slurp up nutrients and expand the colony. What's worse is if a device sends out a signal like a radio wave, the crawl locks on and spreads over it like it's claiming territory. Dead animals are just their snack, especially when the singularity's around. That thing can turn corpses into new crawl branches like some macabre meat printer. Ironically, humans farm this abomination. The tendrils make rich fertilizer, and technically, you can eat them if you enjoy the taste of regret and its texture. Crawl doesn't walk, run, or scream. It just keeps on growing until eventually it will grow over you. Trimming. The trimming is what happens when a raccoon tries to rizz up a turtle. What you get is a nervous, blood-colored creature that lives to eat trash, scream at night, and share thoughts with its hive. It's the crawl's creation, so basically a walking meat node that falls off the parent vine and immediately starts looking for anything edible. Rotten or fresh, it doesn't care. Trimmings are cowardly, passive, and socially needy. If threatened, they'll either run, hide, or unleash a screech so loud it could pass for a dying modem. They're most active at night and tend to get loud for no reason, making them incredibly unpopular around neighborhoods. Still, they're oddly emotional, chattering when happy, and shrieking like banshees when scared or sprayed with water. These giant meaty bugs learn by proxy. One was trained with sound cues and treats, and when it rejoined its colony, they all reacted the same way to those sounds. Even nearby wild colonies copied the behavior. No wires, no signals, just hive instinct. They live fast and die young, usually eaten before reaching 4 years. Yet the crawl constantly spawns more, so there's never a shortage. They're harmless, but when your garbage starts moving at midnight, good luck sleeping through the chorus. Meat snake. the skinless serpent of the Vita Carnis family. The meat snake is the third member of the Carnis line and the second known spawn of the cruel. It doesn't hunt, it waits, sniffing out rot with a fleshy tongue and swallowing corpses whole, be it animal, human, or whatever's unlucky enough to die nearby. On the bright side, it cannot eat the living and it won't try. Meat snakes average 5 meters in length, but the largest known case was found in a tunnel and it was over 30 meters long, covered in darkened flesh with 7 skulls fused into its head, suggesting something anomalous. They live everywhere, though they favor moderate climates. Their skull isn't fixed, instead, they wear the skull of their last meal like a mask, swapping it out if it breaks or if they just like another one better. Their red flesh deepens the more they eat and they smell like vinegar-soaked death. As they digest, they grow, and when they get big enough, they split, creating a clone and going their separate ways. They're not aggressive unless you interrupt mealtime. In fact, they're used in butcher shops, war zones, and cleanup efforts because they disinfect and break down meat with internal chemicals, like when they were dropped into trenches to clean corpses during the Second World War. Think of them as snakes that love trying on helmets and happily disinfect dead meat for you. Mimic. If those monsters aren't scary enough, well, the mimic is the one hiding under your couch and smiling while it eats you. Once called a butcher, it's the first hostile member of the Vita Carnis family and the third product of the cruel. Mimics thrive near cities because once they mature, their favorite meal is human flesh. Think of it as a nightmare that watched people too closely and decided to become one. The mimic looks like someone peeled a human, stretched out the limbs and left only the worst parts. Long arms, no nails, bulging eyes, and a grin stuffed with too many teeth. Mostly incisors because it's not chewing, it's tearing. The mimic's body can shrink to fit into your furniture or expand to look more terrifying. When it hunts, it doesn't chase, it studies you, watches your routine, finds your weakest moment, and strikes fast enough that no one hears you die. And if it gets enough food, it evolves. Elder mimics are stronger, smarter, and nearly impossible to kill. You'll know you've seen one if the smile looks real, but the eyes don't. Now that their population is rapidly growing, mimics are becoming an increasing threat to human populations worldwide. But hey, at least you'll never have to feel lonely on the couch again. Harvester. Harvester is the 5th Carnis species, the 4th product of the cruel, and the only one still plugged into it. Found mostly in quiet northern forests, the harvester is a crimson bulb surrounded by tendrils stretching nearly 500 feet. Basically, a bloody Venus flytrap with a gruesome kill count. It has 2 types of tendrils that do the work. The flat, spined ones snap shut like bear traps, injecting venom that paralyzes on one side and prevents clotting on the other. Once caught, victims bleed out fast. Then the feeding tendrils show up, which are branch-like feelers that slither toward the scent of blood, drain it, and drag what's left into the dirt. What makes it worse? The harvester picks its fights. It ignores small prey and saves its energy for bigger meals like wolves, bears, and even humans. It even helps nearby plants grow by feeding the soil with leftovers, which attracts more victims. And if you think you're safe, you're not. Harvesters can slowly migrate, showing up where they weren't before. One report even captured it killing a mother and son. But the government won't stop them because the cult, Vita Carnis' main antagonist, made sure they won't. Host of Influence. The third hostile Carnis monster, the Host of Influence, or simply the Host, is a spiky humanoid creature that hijacks your brain before it ever lays a finger on you. As the 6th Carnis species and 5th product of the cruel, the Host plants itself in the North American wilderness, releasing airborne spores that infect anything with lungs. It looks almost human, with a head, torso, and arms, but its face has no features, its neck is crooked, and its lower half is buried underground in a mass of tendrils. Its back is laced with hair-like barrels that spray spores into the wind like a walking plague. Inhaled spores invade the brain, slowly warping the host's behavior. Victims feel numb, dizzy, and confused, then stop whatever they're doing and walk toward the host. Once close enough, they kneel and expose their guts. The host then opens a slit in its neck and consumes them alive. If left untreated, the infection fades after 36 hours. But reaching the host ends in death. It's not immobile either because when the prey runs low, it unroots and relocates. Though its spores are dangerous, they're used in Nutri-Co's flavor enhancers. When cooking, just keep that meal under 140 degrees Fahrenheit, or you might just season your dinner with mind control. Bon appétit. Monolith. The monolith is the tallest and 4th most aggressive Carnis monster. It stands at a staggering 394 feet and looks like a meat tower designed by a sadistic architect. This is the 7th Carnis species ever discovered, though no one knows if it came from the cruel or the singularity. All 7 monoliths were found in 1972, surrounding a mysterious structure called the Singularity on an island in Hudson Bay, Canada. Each one is rooted into the earth with colossal legs and connected by a vast underground network, making removal impossible. Its triangular head has a massive hole, possibly the source of its EMP blasts, and its arms are hundreds of rope-like strands that drag across the ground. Despite their size, all monoliths remain silent and still until that one incident. During their only recorded active event, they lashed out violently, whipping enemies with their tendrils, regenerating blown-off limbs in seconds, and disabling vehicles with electromagnetic bursts. No reproduction has ever been observed, and no monolith node has formed. They remain inactive today, but their purpose is unknown. With their immense size, power, and complete lack of human utility, the monoliths are less like monsters and more like sleeping gods waiting for a reason to wake. The Singularity. Lastly, the eighth and final member of the Carnis family is the Singularity. It's a floating black glass sphere that looks like a cursed Christmas ball decorating the earth. Also known as Verum Carnis, which means the truth of the flesh, this 3-foot orb is as mysterious as it is dangerous. It emits strange signals, magnetic fields, and possibly commands. Trimmings pick up their radio transmissions and relay them to other Carnis, forming a fleshy Wi-Fi network across the planet. Despite lacking limbs or defenses, it's the brain of the operation. There are 7 known singularities, once scattered across the world. Now, they're all contained by Carcass, the organization committed to containing Carnis after the cult gathered them for a ritual in Facility Zero, an event that ended with bullets, cultist blood, and a government trial. The most famous singularity sits at Hudson Bay, encircled by the monoliths like knights guarding their king. Each singularity has its own unsettling personality. Some whisper through TVs, others ignore you completely. They convert corpses into cruel, spreading the infection faster than wild growth ever could. While they just float there, seemingly passive, every twitch of static could be an order. The singularities might not fight, but they think, plan, and manipulate. And worst of all, they might be the reason the Vita Carnis ever came to Earth. Smilers. Smilers are known for their eerie, glowing smiles that often seem to appear out of nowhere, almost like the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland. Officially listed as entity-free, these creatures are anything but friendly. Unless you're one of them or another backroom entity, you can expect them to hunt you down without mercy. If you ever find yourself wandering the backrooms, chances are you'll first encounter smilers in the dark corners of level 2 or level 3. And if you think using light will keep you safe, think again. Smilers are actually drawn to light even though they lurk in shadows. Flashing your light might buy you a second, but it usually makes things worse. Smilers aren't just creepy, they're disturbingly intelligent. They coordinate through telepathy and use their shifting, amorphous forms to corner prey. Based on footage collected by the Major Explorer Group, these creatures don't just kill, they play with their victims in ways too grim to imagine. Once you're caught, there's no coming back. So, how do you survive? Stick to dim areas and move carefully. Avoid flashing lights around and stay quiet. But if you do lock eyes with one of those sharp-toothed smiles, don't panic. If you've got a Smiler Exterminator bottle, now's the time to use it. If not, hold your ground, maintain eye contact, and back away slowly. Any sudden moves could trigger an attack. If you're lucky, they'll lose interest. If not, you'd better run. Partygoers. The partygoers, or Entity 67, are most commonly found lurking around Level Fun, an area hidden behind windows in Level 188, or through secret no-clip points from Level 1. These creatures stand tall with smooth, yellow, leathery skin. Their faces are stretched into carved cartoonish smiles, and they're often seen holding red balloons, which somehow makes them even more unsettling. Despite their playful appearance, the partygoers are dangerously intelligent. They use their surroundings to set traps with floating balloons and cheerful decorations, the perfect bait for anyone curious or comforted by the sight of a celebration. The real nightmare begins once they make contact. If a partygoer latches onto you with its lamprey-like arms, your fate is sealed. Your mind is claimed almost instantly, while your body transforms into one of them within the hour. Scientists blame this twisted mutation on the sanguine festivus virus, or SFV. When infected, victims wander the endless halls, draped in cloth, bleeding from self-inflicted wounds, driven by the instinct to hunt and infect others. Surviving them comes down to one brutal rule: avoid balloons, laughter, and floating confetti at all costs. If you spot decorations where they shouldn't be, don't wait to confirm your fears and just run. And if one of them reaches you, use your last moment to warn anyone nearby, because the truth is, the party never really stops, and the partygoers are always waiting for their next guest. Hounds. You'd never want to pet a dog again once you meet Entity 8, or better known as the Hounds. These creatures don't bark, wag tails, or fetch sticks. They stalk, they hunt, and they tear. You'll likely run into them in the shadowy corners of Level 1, deep within the steaming pipes of Level 2, or lurking down the velvet-draped halls of Level 5. Anywhere dim, tight, and eerily silent, that's hound territory. At first glance, they might seem like your brother looking for food at 3 a.m., but a closer look reveals twisted, pale-skinned humanoids. They crawl on all fours, with mangled limbs, gaping jaws full of jagged teeth, and sunken or missing eyes. Random patches of fur on their bodies make them look like a chupacabra. It's like the Backrooms tried to rebuild a dog from leftover nightmare parts. Some wanderers believe these creatures were once human victims twisted by the Backrooms anomalies, or broken by something called Egremont syndrome, a condition rumored to erase a person's identity and sanity. Hounds don't hunt with their eyes, they track by scent and sound. While they usually hunt alone, packs have been reported, and when they do team up, they hunt smart. Some survivors claim they've been lured into dead ends or baited out with strange sounds, only to be ambushed once fear sets in. If you're unlucky enough to meet one, don't scream and run. Lock eyes, back away slowly, and avoid sudden moves. Loud noises or flares might startle them, but your best defense is sticking with a group and keeping to well-lit areas. And if you hear claws scraping behind you, don't look back, just keep moving. Skin stealers. Now let's talk about something far more disturbing than it sounds. The skin stealers, officially listed as Entity 10. At first glance, they look human, but at a closer look, you'll see why they're called skin stealers. That's because they rip the skin off their victims and wear it like a suit, moving with stiff smiles and vacant eyes, desperately trying to blend in. You'll most likely run into one of them on level 1, 2, or 3. They tend to hang around dim, quiet corridors, waiting for someone to wander alone. When not hungry, they're just chill and won't bother you, but once the hunger kicks in, they become fully aggressive. Victims are torn apart in seconds, their skin stripped and stitched onto the creature's pale, bumpy frame. When they're in the mood for some snacks or new skin to wear, skin stealers will attempt to mimic speech. However, don't be fooled. They lack an understanding of language and merely string words together randomly, like a broken radio, in a desperate attempt to sound human and lure you in. As some of the most common entities in the Backrooms, you'll likely encounter them early on. Fortunately, they pose little threat due to their docile nature and slow movements, making them easy to outrun. However, keep in mind they are not the only creatures lurking in the halls, so always stay alert and watch your back. Clumps. Clumps are the entities that look like a human-spider hybrid. Officially known as Entity 5, this grotesque creature is a writhing bundle of human arms, sometimes stitched with mouths, ears, or even blinking eyes. They slither through the Backrooms at disturbing speed, dragging themselves across the floor with disjointed, muscle-heavy swipes. Clumps tend to stick to levels 2 and 3, favoring dark, damp crawl spaces where movement is limited. These tight areas make it easy for them to ambush wanderers who aren't paying attention. Once you're within 8 feet, they strike, extending a single elongated limb to snatch prey with inhuman precision. Some clumps, however, behave oddly. They'll ignore nearby humans entirely, as if choosing when to feed. The first recorded encounter was by a wanderer named Elliot Winston, who barely made it out alive. Ancient writings from the lost call them the ones with eternal limbs, hinting at myth-like origins. Some researchers believe clumps were created by the Backrooms themselves, manifestations of fear made real through belief. If you spot one, freeze. Stay quiet, keep at least 8 feet away, and toss something in the opposite direction. Also, using flashlights can be helpful as they prefer darkness. The last thing to do is to get away fast. Facelings. The faceless entities known as facelings are some of the most unsettling beings in the Backrooms. You'll encounter them across many levels, especially levels 1 through 3, where they seem to blend well with their environment. These humanoid figures usually have smooth, featureless faces, no eyes, no mouth, totally nothing. They mimic everyday human routines like walking, sweeping, or even sitting behind fake counters. Facelings are believed to be among the oldest entities in the Backrooms, though their true origin is still unknown. One chilling theory suggests they're what's left of wanderers who lost their minds and identities until only an empty shell remained. While most appear faceless, some variants, called false facelings, can temporarily sprout facial features. Most adult facelings are harmless as long as you leave them alone, but the real threat comes from the children. Child facelings are smaller, unpredictable, and far more aggressive. They have been known to swarm intruders and even use makeshift weapons to corner anyone who strays too close. If you ever find yourself near these entities, it's best to keep your distance, avoid any interaction, and if you spot a group of child-sized figures holding something sharp, turn around and leave without hesitation. Death moths. Death moths, officially listed as Entity 4, are winged threats you don't want fluttering anywhere near you. These creatures range in size and temperament, with the males being around 3 to 4 feet tall, sporting glowing eyes and antennae. While they might look intimidating, the males are generally passive. Some wanderers have even managed to tame them using special mushrooms from level 309. The real danger comes from the females though. They are larger, equipped with sharp mandibles, and known to react violently to sudden movement or bright light. You'll mainly find death moths in level 5, but their true home is the hive, a massive, humid, shadowy zone perfect for nesting. It's where they breed, swarm, and thrive. Unfortunately, they aren't confined to just one place and can appear across various levels depending on environmental conditions. As said, their behavior also varies. Males tend to mind their business, while females will attack if provoked or startled. Both genders are drawn to light, which makes navigating their territory extra risky. Their aggression also ramps up depending on how many of them are around. To avoid getting swarmed by these massive bugs, you can simply keep your lights off, stay calm around males, and whatever you do, don't provoke the females. The windows. Lastly, we have Entity 2, better known as the windows. These uncanny windows aren't just part of the scenery. They house a dark silhouette that seems to watch and beckon wanderers with malicious intent. The figure inside is always human-shaped, though its features remain obscured, like something stuck behind a screen you wish you hadn't looked at. The windows primarily appear in level 1 and sometimes level 2, with rare instances leading into a mysterious in-between area called level 1.5. Their placement always seems intentional, usually on walls in poorly lit corridors or silent rooms, where they're harder to notice until it's too late. They start by whispering soft voices that try to coax you closer. The moment you approach, the shadowy figure may reach out and pull you through the glass, into what's believed to be an endless void. Their behavior is deceptively passive, but the threat level is dangerously high. There's no official record of their first sighting, though the Lost refer to them ominously as the men behind the glass. The survival rule is plain and simple. If you see movement behind a window, walk away. Don't engage, don't listen, and absolutely never follow.